Hi, friends. Good morning. Happy Monday. My name is Libby, and welcome to my audio journal, Finding Joy in the Shadows, where I spend time each week talking about the fun curveballs life throws our way and help us look for pockets of joy. This is also an opportunity for me to continue working through my own stuff while also sharing ways to help anyone who might be listening work through some areas in your own life that you might be working on so that we can all find joy together. For today's conversation, I'm going to break down my daily rituals so that maybe we can all find a little bit more joy in our everyday life. But per usual, there's a couple of things that hit my radar over the last couple of days. I've turned some news sources back on, and I went down the weird uh, um, wormhole that is social media. And so I got a couple of things that hit my radar that I want to talk about. For those of you that are new here, these are Libby's problems, or LPs, as my nephew Jackson lovingly coined. And it's just this is my little opportunity to just kind of warm up before I hop into talking about anything that might need more focus. I don't know why I do this, but I like it. Um, I'm coming off of a really busy weekend. It was a really busy weekend. I didn't really get any naps in, so I'm recording this and I am very tired. So I apologize. I might have to re-record this because I'm not sure what I'm really going to say because I'm very, very tired. One of the reasons why I'm very tired is that I spent Friday night at my bestie Teresa's house. She was hosting a badass women's Christmas party, and I just had the most fun. We kicked all the guys out. Sorry, not sorry. And we just had the best time eating really good food, chatting with friends I hadn't seen in a really long time, and just networking with some new peeps. And we laughed until midnight. Well, I laughed until midnight. That's when I went home and went to bed. But the party continued on. And I know some had to crash at T's house because they had a little too much punch. But that's what the night was for, having fun, and everyone stayed safe. And that's what matters most. But the night wasn't just about having fun. One of the things that I love most about my best friend Teresa is that not only is she an amazing host, but she always has a way of turning just the smallest little gathering into a way of giving back to the community. And for her party, she partnered with Prism Women's Shelter. And all of the guests, myself included, we collected tons of really good, high quality, just body care, skin care, lotions, women's products, things that when women find themselves in a situation where they would need to go to a shelter, they can still have some of those comforts from home. And so it wasn't just a party to have fun and laugh and eat and take cutesy pictures with so I can, post them on Instagram the next day. It also had a really good cause. And that's one thing that Teresa always does so well and inspires me to be better. So if you would like to also donate, the site is prismmpls.org. I will try really hard to remember to put this in the show notes in case anyone also wants to offer a donation. Teresa, I know you're listening. Again, you crushed it, girl. You looked stunning in that green dress and you just had a wonderful party. So bravo. I will say the next day, Saturday, I was moving a little bit slower because I whooped it up till midnight, like, I did back in the day. But as much as I wanted to stay in bed, I did have motivation. I did have a reason motivating me to get out of bed. And that was spending all day Saturday with my other bestie, Jessie. And we just had one of the most loveliest days. We went Christmas shopping, we had a yummy lunch, and we found ourselves just having our classic deep bestie conversation, right? Like just one of those convos that never really ends. It just keeps going and going into different folds, right? It was so much fun. And when I talk with Jessie, she is my free space where I can, share anything that's on my mind. She shares things that are on her mind, and we have zero judgment. Like Teresa always says, we listen and we don't judge. And so Jesse and I just did a ton of talking and listening, and it was such a fun way to spend a Saturday. It was very reminiscent to our college days. So when Jesse and I were at the University of Minnesota, every Sunday, I would spend the night at her house. We'd go grab dinner. And then we would go back to her studio apartment, which I'm sure if we were to look at today, we would be shocked that anybody lived in. It was probably so much tinier than I have a memory of. But we would talk until, 2, 3 in the morning, just about life. And Saturday, spending the day shopping with her and chatting just reminded me of our college days. And it just warmed my heart. So, warmed my heart and soul spending Friday and Saturday night with very dear friends, old sorority sisters, college friends, and my besties. So, it was a good weekend had by all. A couple of other things that's going on. Let's see. The things are still evolving in South Korea, it looks like. As of right now, protests are still going strong because the people are pushing back against their president's attempt to throw out their democracy. And the people of South Korea have basically all stood up and are like, not today, buddy, not letting that happen. And I have to say, leave it to South Koreans to turn even the most intense demonstrations into a full blown cultural phenomenon. For those of you who are new here, and you haven't heard me talk about this before, I fell in love with South Korea a couple years ago thanks to some K dramas and the likes of Lee Min Ho. If you have not watched a K drama with him in it, you are missing out. He is very pretty, and he's a really good actor too. So, thanks to him and his K dramas, I became hooked. And this love for K dramas is eventually what led me to my intense obsession with BTS. Again, all that's all due to my very dear friend Kirsty. She is the one who made that life-changing introduction. So again, any complaints about my constant BTS mentions here, just go ahead and send those complaints directly to her. Like I said before, Teresa is in charge of helping me find the right BTS support group, and I don't think she's found one yet, but I will let you know the minute she locates one. But those two are on it. But what I'm trying to say is this country clearly has a very special place in my heart. And hearing that these protests have now turned into massive K-pop sing-alongs is both heartwarming and also really, really inspiring. I mean, picture this. People are out there fighting for their democracy while also belting out BTS and Blackpink lyrics. It's such a uniquely South Korean way to protest, and I am all here for it. I was talking about this actually with my cousin Mark the other day, and both of us are finding inspiration in seeing the people stand up and fight back and say, not today. Nope, nope, we're not going to do this. The people have the power, and South Korea is proving that. An added lovingly twist to this story is that people who do not live near the city of Seoul and can't protest in person, they are still showing their support for their country. These are peeps by the hundreds, okay? They are calling into local coffee shops in the city of Seoul, and they are prepaying for hundreds of coffees and foods at local at local cafes. And then they are posting online which cafes to go to and whose name the coffee is under so that the protesters can go and grab a free drink and warm up and eat. I've seen video of people handing out blankets, hand warmers, because the temperatures over in South Korea are pretty comparable to the temps here in Minnesota right now, which means it's freezing. There's snow on the ground, which makes it even colder. And so watching all of this unfold, like I was discussing with my cousin Mark, it's such a beautiful, uplifting example of people coming together during a difficult time. And South Korea, I tip my hat to you. You're amazing. keep showing the world what true resilience and unity look like. I will say at the time I'm recording this, it looks like the president of South Korea was just officially impeached. No idea what that means next. I don't know what that holds for the country, but I do pray that everyone in South Korea continues to stay safe. Okay. Um, moving into the weird category. I know by the time this episode airs, who the heck knows what is going to be taking place in late January, early February 2025. But I want to take a moment right now and talk about the apparent UFOs that are flying over New Jersey, or should I really just say drones? Because I think that's just what they are. Um, so, depending on who you talk to, and depending which rabbit hole you go down on the socials, our government either genuinely doesn't know who's controlling these drones, or they're just not telling us because they don't want us to know. My guess, if I'm being honest, is that these are just drones being controlled by idiots, right? I think we can all get behind that. Why do I think that? Well, because while I joke a lot about just running straight into the arms of the aliens at this point in the game, the more grounded side of me refuses to believe that's really what's going on. And science teaches us that a lot of times the simplest explanation is usually the right one. So, yeah, I'm sticking with idiots with drones. Now, if we want to add to this conspiracy and want to question whether or not it's Americans operating the drones, well, then go ahead and slide into my DMs on Instagram at Libby's Audio Journal, and let me know your thoughts, because I do believe these are idiots with drones, and I also believe that these are probably not American idiots with drones. But that's all I'm going to go there on this one. We'll see in 2025 if we were right. But speaking of weird, have you all heard about what the Pope is planning to do on Christmas Eve? So again, this episode will be airing well into 2025. So I guess if you are hearing this, then nothing bad happened. But apparently, the Pope is planning to perform a ritual that he has never done before. I don't think this has ever been done before, according to my Google searching. But apparently on Christmas Eve, he is planning a ritual to open the doors to 7 places. Now, I know this sounds like a plot to a Netflix special, right? Some articles I have found online are simply stating that these are actual physical doors that he is opening to spiritual places, religious places. I'm not entirely sure where all these doors are. I believe one is at a prison. I'm not entirely sure the symbolism on that one. But many are also referring to these doors as portals. Now, when I hear portals, I think of otherworld, and that's the part of the story that makes me giggle a little bit. But then I'm also like, lots going on right now. So just, what do we want to do this right now? Like, do we want to open these doors slash portals? Not really sure the meaning behind it. One theory is also suggesting that these doors or portals might be linked to Lucifer's tomb. Yeah, you heard me correctly. And if you are equally baffled by that statement, join the club. Didn't realize he had a tomb on Earth. That was news to me as well. I have to say, I'm clearly missing some chapters in my world history at this point. But anyway, again, since this episode will air in January or February 2025, not entirely sure. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if we're all still here by then. So if you're hearing me, then clearly nothing bad happened with this ritual. If you never hear this, you'll never know. So fingers crossed this ritual doesn't actually open up any portals to the upside down, because while I like watching the TV show Stranger Things, I don't want to live in the TV show Stranger Things. So stay tuned for what happens next on that one next week. All right. One final story before we dive into the week. And again, by the time this episode airs, there is no doubt a lot will have already been said about the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. And I just want to be real for a minute. No matter where you stand on this issue, at the end of the day, this was a human being, a father, someone with a family who's grieving right now. Now, does acknowledging his humanity mean we ignore the thousands of innocent victims who have also been denied care in this country? Absolutely not. These people are also human. These people are also humans with families and children who also deserve equal amount of compassion. Um, Two things can be true, right? At the same time. Here's my point in what I'm watching and the reactions that I'm watching. I believe in karma. Okay. I believe the energy we put into the universe has a way of circling back like a giant boomerang. And trust me, it always hits harder on the return. That's why I can't get behind anyone taking matters into their own hands or hurting someone or even making jokes about someone's death. That's not the kind of karmic energy I want in my life. But you do you. That's all I got to say about that. Okay. I can't think of any other topics or LPs that were on my radar last week, so we'll go ahead and dive in. As always, I've got my iced coffee here, which we'll actually be talking about in a little bit. Lulu Joy is home today. I have already had to hit re-record a couple of times because she has felt the need to share her opinion on my neighbors walking around freely outside. So I cannot guarantee that you won't hear her, but she's currently sleeping. So I'm trying not to talk too fast, but I want to get this recorded before she wakes up again. For the rest of our time together, I want to share something close to my heart, and that is my daily rituals. I was chatting with a friend recently about some of the little things I do each day, and they seemed genuinely curious about them. And that got me thinking that maybe this would make for a good episode one day. And I I am not simply sharing these routines to talk about myself and how amazing I am with a hair flip, right? I'm sharing this to show how just little small intentional habits can add little bursts of joy throughout our day. These are the things that help keep me grounded, help me smile, and help me feel a little bit more in control of my life when things get really, really hectic. And so, my hope in sharing this is not to put me on a pedestal. My hope in sharing this is that you also might find some inspiration to add a little bit more joy into your daily routine. Ready? Okay. So, first, let me just say this. I did not wake up one day and bam, right, started doing all of these things. Trust me, this life I am living, it has been a journey. Most of what I do now started out the way I'm going to share it with you as baby steps, little habits, little things I picked up along the way, new things I learned and decided to try out. And over time, these small changes just became part of my routine. So now they're second nature and I don't even think about them anymore. I just do them. So I'm going to walk you through a typical day. And along the way, I'll try and pause to explain why I do the things I do and what are some of the benefits I've noticed from doing them, if that's a good grammatical sentence to state. If anything does resonate with you, feel free to adopt them into your own routine. And if you want more details or want to add to what I'm sharing, please feel free to hit me up on Instagram at Libby's Audio Journal. Would love to hear. Okay, so where to begin? I think the easiest way is to walk you through a typical day from my good mornings to my good nights. And I will say, like many of us, the post-COVID work from home life left me way too comfortable in my quote unquote uniform, which is basically skipping the shower and just living in sweats every day. Relatable, right? But this past June, which also marks the start of my company's new fiscal year, I set a goal for myself and I wanted to start pulling myself together and to be Zoom camera ready at least 4 out of 5 work days. And yes, I have officially dubbed Wednesday my no camera day. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I get myself up, pull myself together, and I am just ready to be on camera if it is necessary. Why am I sharing this? Because I noticed it's a small habit that's helped me feel more put together and ready to take on my days. Most of this starts with waking up pretty early. These days, my alarm goes off no later than 6 a.m., whether I like it or not. Right now, I'm only working out with my homegirl Katie on Tuesdays. But even on the other days, even when the days I'm not working out with Katie, I am still sticking to my early wake up routine. It's a little thing, but making sure I am camera ready helps me set the tone for everything else that I have to do. Now, I know I've talked about this before. When I wake up, when I hit the alarm, when I hit snooze, I try really, really hard to not immediately start scrolling through my phone once I wake up. Since I use my phone as my alarm though, this is really hard to do sometimes. So here's a little hack that I've noticed I've started to do really within the last couple of weeks. Just as my eyes are starting to focus and I'm hitting snooze on the phone, I will look at my phone's locked screen. And if nothing too urgent is showing up as a missed reminder or a missed text or call, then I proceed to flip the phone back over and spend some time talking to Lou or thinking about how I want my day to go. And experts tell us that the best thing we can do to help us start on a positive path in the morning is to not look at our phones right when we wake up. Because when we do look at our phones first thing in the morning, when we hop on the socials or threads or Twitter or X, whatever the heck you want to call it today, we are allowing other people's thoughts, other people's opinions and actions to now dictate our thoughts and our feelings. We are now letting other people set the tone for our day before we have even had a chance to fully wake up yet. Instead, if we can spend the first few minutes, right, 3-5 minutes tops, as part of our wake up routine by focusing on positive things, by going through our to-do list, by picturing how we want certain situations to go, then we are now the ones dictating the first thoughts of our day. And we are setting the course with positivity. Now, truth be told, keeping myself honest here, if I see a missed alert, say from one of my BTS boys, if I see that they've posted something on Weavers that they posted while I was sleeping, then all of what I just said goes right out the window. And I'm hopping on Weavers before I can fully focus to read what one of my boys wrote. Again, Teresa's in charge of looking for my BTS obsessed support group. And so far, she hasn't found one, but we'll continue to keep you updated. So I'm sharing that because I don't want to come across as standing on a pedestal. I am human too. I'm not perfect at this, but this is something, it's a morning ritual I'm actively trying to do better at. And I wanted to share. So the next thing I do, no matter if I'm just pulling myself together or heading over to Katie's house for a workout, if I slept through the night with the window closed, which is usually in the wintertime, then the first thing I do is I open my window, even if it's just a little crack. Not only does this help vent out all the smells of sleep, but from a spiritual standpoint, according to Mrs. Google, opening our window first thing in the morning is often seen as a way to symbolically invite fresh air, fresh energy, new beginnings, and positive forces from the outside world into our space. Now, I say this as a Minnesota girl through and through. So I personally don't care how cold it gets outside. I will crack that window first thing in the morning to invite fresh air and positive energy into my room first thing every morning. It doesn't have to be for very long, just 10, 15 minutes, right? Just get that fresh air in, and I do it every morning. It's one of my favorite things to do. Now, this next step, I know I've mentioned before. While I'm in the shower, I state this in my head, and sometimes if you're in my apartment, you will hear me say this out loud too. I will say, good things are happening for me today, over and over again. I mean, not like over and over again, but I'll say it a couple of times. And I have found in my own life, the shower tends to be a place where I revisit past arguments, past conversations. And these don't even have to be recent. Some of them could have taken years ago, but it'll just pop into my head and I'll replay it, right? And I'll think about all the things I wished I'd had the courage to say back then. How many of us have ever found themselves doing the exact same thing? Now, I can't see you, okay? So don't act like you've never done this before. I know I am not alone on this rock. We've all done it, right? Well, when we do this, how do you think this sets the tone for our day? If first thing in the morning, in our shower, we are focusing on a negative argument, a negative memory, if we are thinking of something we wished we had said, which probably would have been hurtful to the person on the receiving end of that zinger we just thought of, how do you think that? Well, even though it's a hypothetical conversation at this point, how do you think starting our day in that negative mind space could play out for us throughout the rest of the day or even the week for that matter? Last year, when I began working through a really hard moment in my life, I came across a woman on Instagram talking about the power of water. Now, I have always stated water is a powerful force. It can cut through rock, so it is not to be messed with. And I actually have two rules in this life. Two rules. Respect the curls, my curly hair, and respect water. So when I heard her talking about water being a powerful tool to be used in manifestations and prayers, it made me genuinely pause. And if you too are saying to yourself, wait, what now? Water to help with manifestations and prayers? What? Well, then you're not alone, because that's exactly how I responded when I heard her say that. And so according to Mrs. Google, water is considered to be a powerful conduit for energy and intention, allowing individuals to infuse their desires with positive thoughts directly into the element, essentially programming the water with their desired reality. Friends, once I read that, combined with this woman's Instagram post I saw, I thought, well, why not? Let's give it a try. I didn't care how hokey this makes me look, or I don't care how hokey this makes me sound. I will say, though, in those early days of 2024, so this past January and February, when I was at my absolute lowest, I was willing to try anything that could help me get back to a healthier mental state. Now, it wasn't easy. As soon as I made the decision to do that, next morning, I'm in the shower and quickly hopped back into what was my routine at the time. Oh, if they had said this, then I could have said that. And oh, if I had done this, then I could have done that. And then I had this aha moment of realization. And I found myself talking to myself. I don't know if anyone has ever done that before, but I found myself saying to me, you're standing in water right now. Stop thinking negative. And I legit at times over the next days, weeks, and months, I sometimes would have to take my hand and like kind of mimic hitting myself in the head while I shouted, get out, get out, get out. Every time a negative thought came into my head, I would go, get out, get out, get out. And that was how I had to physically refocus my mind from being in a negative state to allow myself to move into a more positive one. And after a couple weeks, after a few months of starting my mornings with telling myself in the shower, amazing things will happen for me today. Amazing things will happen for me today. How do you think that set the tone for my day? I noticed a huge difference. Huge difference. And after a while, not only have I stopped focusing on certain conversations, past situations, past arguments, but I even stopped focusing and remembering certain toxic people altogether. Just, I don't even think about them anymore. And now I just focus on myself and my goals. That has become my immediate focus. Selfish? Sure, right? Of course it is. But I will say this one little routine has helped me more than I can fully express. If you only take one idea from my little podcast, I hope it is this one, but I do have a few more that I want to share before I hang this up. Now, after my shower, for me, this is my absolute favorite part of my day, and that is going through my skincare regimen. Now, I am not saying anyone needs to go out and spend a vast fortune of money, especially money they don't have, on all the fats, right? There are plenty of products out there at all ranges of the financial, spectrum. But I would encourage you, if you don't have a skincare regimen today, I would encourage you to start one. The first step would be to find a good toner, and then find a really good moisturizer, not just for your face, but also for your whole body, right? Just those two things. You can get them at Target, you can get them at Walgreens, right? They have inexpensive, really good options. Um, I have found that this act of self-care is the easiest way that we can love ourselves. Our body is our temple, right? So for me, my product choices, I use a mix of Chanel, basic generic Vaseline, and a Korean beauty line called Sulwasu. Um, According to Mrs. Google, hydrating and moisturizing our skin not only prevents dryness and flakiness, but a beauty skincare routine allows us to reconnect with our body, practice mindfulness, and show ourselves love and respect by tending to our physical well being, which can be seen as an act of honoring our inner self and the divine spark within us, according to Google. I know for me personally, when I moisturize my skin, it makes me personally feel better, right? And when I add this step on top of everything else so far I've mentioned as part of my morning routine, I'm starting my day feeling pretty good. Sometimes I will listen to music, or I will let myself listen to a podcast while I'm getting ready. I will say, my goal in the morning is to keep things pretty light, keep things positive. So I only allow myself to listen to podcasts like The Girls Next Level, the Gold Digger podcast. There's this really cute one called Frangela, The Final Word. Sometimes I like to listen to Girl Boss Radio, or like I've plugged many, many times, The Bob Seska Show. Now, I am not a parent to a human child. So I don't know what your morning routine is going to be like. And if you would ever have the ability to listen to music or a podcast while you're getting ready, in between shouting out orders to kids to wake up, to eat breakfast, to stop hitting one another. Clearly, we need to make edits where they see fit. But this is how I prefer to start my morning. I try not to dive into my phone on the socials within the first few minutes of my morning. I crack a window to let in fresh air, no matter how cold it is outside, just for a few minutes. I tell myself good things are in store for me today while I'm in the shower, and then I moisturize my skin from head to toe, and I fill the quiet void with either music or inspirational or funny podcasts. That's the within the first 45 minutes of how I start my day. Now, once the makeup is on and I am dressed, I'm either bringing Lulu Joy over to doggy daycare, or I am running through the Starbucks drive-thru to grab my cold brew with cream and extra ice. Yes, I am fully aware I could make this at home, but this is my little treat, and I have budgeted this treat for myself every month. I know exactly how much I spend, and it's worked into my monthly budget. I love the way the ice shakes in the glass. It's a comfort noise for me, and I feel I'm 45 years old. It's just non-negotiable for me at this point. I will say when I get home, like clockwork, I remove the lid and I sprinkle in a little cinnamon, stir it around, and enjoy. Now, if you're wondering why cinnamon, I've mentioned this before, and I'm gonna break it down for you. So I'm glad you asked. According to Mrs. Google, adding cinnamon to our coffee can provide multiple health benefits. Not only does it add a nice aromatic touch to our coffee, cinnamon is a rich source of antioxidants, fibers, and other essential minerals such as calcium and iron. Studies also suggest that cinnamon could help improve insulin sensitivity and lower blood sugar levels, could reduce cholesterol levels and improve our heart health by reducing inflammation and oxidative stress. Other studies suggest that cinnamon may enhance our cognitive function, improve memory, and protect us against neurodegenerative diseases. Cinnamon also has anti-inflammatory properties that may help with digestion and reduce bloating, and could increase our metabolism, which can also then promote weight loss, which is never a bad thing. Overall, cinnamon can boost our overall immune system and improve our mood. So it's a good thing to add. But with all of these really good reasons, the real reason why I started adding cinnamon to my coffee every morning is that according to Google, adding cinnamon to coffee is often associated with enhancing our energy and attracting abundance and prosperity, boosting creativity, and promoting a sense of warmth and grounding. Basically, cinnamon can be seen as a way to infuse our morning ritual with positive intentions in a spiritual and spiritual energy. So when I learned that, I was like, okay, I'm going to get all these health benefits. And I'm also setting the intention while doing this little ritual of sprinkling and cinnamon into my coffee. I am now setting the intention to bring in abundance in my life. All for it. Let's do it. Um, Now, once I have my coffee set, sometimes I like to burn a scented candle for my morning. Currently, I have a candle going right now that is candy cane scented. I tend to lean towards the sweeter candles, or the sweeter scented candles, I should say. I have this one for the holidays. And before I jump into my day, after the coffee's done, or after the cinnamon's out of the coffee, after I light my candle, depending on how much time this takes me, I will sometimes read through my gratitude list. I always have the notebook here at my desk, ready to look through whenever I need to. And this notebook has become a place where I collect my favorite prayers, my favorite manifestations. It includes my gratitude list, all the things that I'm thankful for. And this is also a journal where I write down my own goals. And I will say, I do not have time to do this every day, but I do strive at least once a week to read through all of them, sometimes say them out loud, and just remind myself what I'm working towards. What are my goals? Because I have found that seeing my goals written out helps motivate me to work that much harder. Now, throughout my day, if Lulu is home like she is today, when she's having one of her famous barking fits, if I am able to, instead of just yelling at her to stop barking, I will sometimes get down on the ground at her level. And she loves when I do that because she'll run over, she'll, flop onto her back wanting a belly rub, and I'll grab a toy and we'll have a few minutes where we'll play. And she thinks I'm doing this just for her, which there is a part of me that I am doing this for her. But I take this as an opportunity to build in some stretching time, some time for me to move my body if I've been sitting too long. It's also a time for me to just be able to sit quietly and reflect on the day. This is an easy way for me to give my fur baby some attention while also tending to my own needs as well. Um, I've started to build this habit every time I hop on a Zoom call. I will use this as a time to reapply moisturizer to my hands. I have trained my brain to think Zoom. Oh, time to reapply. Um, Now, my evening routine has become a little bit lazy, I will say. Once the workday is over and after I've had dinner, I'll clean up the kitchen, put the clothes away if I was doing laundry. Sometimes I will relight my scented candle, and then I will hang out on my couch literally for the rest of the night, under a blanket, snuggling with Lulu. Sometimes I'll watch TV, but usually I'm just kind of zoning out on my phone or texting people texting people that I hadn't responded to yet. When it's time for bed, for me, that means 8 o'clock. No joke. I am being completely honest. I go to bed at 8. I always make sure my kitchen is cleaned up. Never go to bed with dirty dishes in your sink. Not only is it good to prevent, rodents and bugs, but one time I think maybe 8, 9, 10 months ago, I don't know. It was about a year ago. I was in one of those wormholes on social media. I went down the rabbit hole and I saw one post, just one. That was all it took to scare me. Okay. I saw one post about a Slavic folklore story about Domovoy. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but it's about Domovoy, which is basically a house spirit. Something I never thought about until I saw this reel, I think at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, and the reel basically stated that if you want your house to act as a protector, never go to bed with dirty dishes. Now, if I'm being honest, I am a spiritual person, I'm a religious person, and it made me ask, does God really care if I leave one spoon in the sink? Never thought of it before. Um, I don't know. And I know neither do you. So, this was all I needed to see. This was all I needed to hear to make sure that I never go to bed now with a single dirty dish in the sink. I don't care how tired I am. If I have failed to empty the dishwasher throughout my entire day and now I am so tired, I just want to go to bed. But if I have a dirty dish in the sink and I can't put it away because I still have a full dishwasher, I will suck it up and empty the dishwasher so I can put all my dirty dishes away and make sure I go to bed with a clean, organized house. I don't care how kooky this makes me sound or how woo-woo this sounds to anyone listening. I saw this one time and that was enough to scare me. And now I never go to bed with dirty dishes in the sink. That is why I do that. Speaking of my spiritual side, though, I do have a few daily prayers that I say every time I leave the house. If I am leaving the house and Lulu Joy is staying home, once I lock the door, I ask my guardian angels to protect her. I simply say quietly, please watch over her as I'm locking the door. Once I get into my car, before I pull out of the garage, I always say, please watch over her, meaning Lulu Joy. So I always say, please watch over her. Please watch over me. And please watch over all of us. I do this every time I drive somewhere and Lulu is staying home. I have been doing this for so long. I remember when I started. I guess Lou is going to be 7 in April. So maybe I started 7 years ago when I adopted her. I couldn't tell you, but I never forget to say these prayers when I go anywhere without her. Saying these prayers when I leave my house kind of makes me feel like Harry Potter in a way. And I am like casting protection all over, right? Again, it's okay if hearing this makes you balk or laugh. Go ahead. But going through these rituals helps me feel safe, helps me feel protected, which keeps me in a positive state. So if you want to laugh, go ahead and laugh. What else can I share? Let's talk about some monthly rituals, like my glam squad. Now, let me just say up front, I don't have human children. So my time and budget looks very different from anyone who's listening that also has children. I don't have orthodontia payments. So my glam squad funds can go very far. But I am a huge believer in always making time for ourselves, no matter what our situation is. Self-care is not selfish. It's necessary. For some of us, that might mean having to ask a friend or family to watch our kids so we can go take an hour to recharge. And you know what? That's okay. We all need support sometimes. And let's be real. The answer is always no if we don't ask, right? So don't be afraid to claim that time for yourself. You deserve it. For me, I take my self-care very seriously. Every 2 weeks, I get a manicure. And every 4 weeks, I get a manicure plus a pedicure. I started this ritual with my bestie, Teresa. I don't even know how many years ago. I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago now. It's like clockwork. And it started out as a way for Teresa to carve out time away from her husband and kids. And we didn't know at the time, but this ritual of ours turned into a way for us to bond closer to each other. It's become our therapy. It's a time where we listen to each other, counsel one another on work, life. And we've also bonded with our nail tech crew because we go to the same people every 2 weeks. And Teresa's really good about learning people's names, and this helped humanize them. And over time, they have become practically like family to us. Lynn, Lee, Bella, Tony, Nada, and Ann. Yes, they are, if you are talented enough, you can do your nails at home. Target and Claire's, they also have some really good, inexpensive stick-on nails as well. You don't have to spend a ton at a nail salon. I don't care how you do it, but invest some time in self-care. Invest in yourself. It's not always about simply trimming our nails. It's the ritual of taking a pause away from the hustle and bustle of whatever we got going on in our lives and just simply taking care of ourselves. For me, having my nails done makes me personally feel better about life. For a long time, I lived this in this world. I was overweight. And this moment in my life is the first time in years that I'm not as overweight as I used to be. But I remember having my nails done was an easy way to make myself feel better, no matter my circumstances. So I'm a huge advocate for getting your nails done. I don't care if you're a guy or a girl. I get my hair cut and colored every 8 weeks. My girl Randy is not close to me. I have to drive all the way to Otsego, Minnesota. If you know the Minneapolis geography, it is out there. It is a drive, but I never miss an appointment. Again, my two rules in life are respect the curls and respect water. And God granted me with curly hair. And after years of trying to straighten them, I finally learned to embrace my curls back in 2009. And now I love my curls. But every curly hair person out there knows that curls are beautiful, but they are also very high maintenance. Also, I have zero interest in growing old gracefully. And thanks to my color artist and homegirl, Marin, you will never see a gray hair on top of this head. The color you see today is now my natural occurring hair color. So that is all thanks to Marin. Um, all of these things I now take for, all of these things I now take for granted took time to cultivate into my daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly routines. You don't have to start changing everything all at once. My suggestion, take one thing from the set of ideas that I provided and try adding one of them into your routine. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know if you want to talk through any of them, if you want help making a plan to how to start incorporating some of these ideas into your daily routine. I would love to hear some of your stories. If you do add them and start noticing just a little bit more positivity throughout your day, I would love to hear that. And that's it. That's all I got for today. So thank you for checking this podcast out, for listening. Like always, I think I've babbled on long enough. As always, I will add to this next week, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, has an amazing week, and I look forward to our next chat. Peace out, friends.